most cringeworthy approval-seeking behavior you've ever seen? Story 1. A good friend's sister was not getting enough attention during my friend's wedding and decided to start crying loudly during the ceremony to a point where the bride and friends had to go and comfort her. My friend said this was completely normal behavior when she is not the center of attention. Edit 1. The most frequently asked question is how old this person was. She was about 22, 24-ish. Edit 2. The second most frequent comment is about how there has to be something mentally wrong with this girl. She is not diagnosed, but just being around her for a few parties and random events, I do believe that there is something wrong with her head. Or it's just that she's the youngest of the siblings and she's been babied by her parents her whole life. Edit 3. For the people saying, I would not have invited her, or I would have just kicked her out of my wedding. I'm guessing you either had a great experience with your wedding, congrats, or you never had a wedding. Because family drama is usually the #1 drama starter for any wedding, and most people need to consider all the future ramifications before not inviting or kicking out a close family member. Story 2. My dog begged me for pets, but when I didn't pet her enough, she went up to a complete stranger and asked to be petted. She does this with food too. Story 3. One of my former friends is boldly, unapologetically narcissistic. Most cringe-worthy recent quote, I can't even eat Italian food in America anymore because it was so good in Italy. Totally ruined it for me. Said as loudly as possible at a friend's birthday dinner at an Italian restaurant. Idiot. Edit. She had been to Italy once for maybe 3 days. Second edit. Okay, pretentious instead. But she is also a narcissist. Trust me. Story 4. Went to a girl's birthday party where she made everyone there sit in a circle and say their favorite thing about her. She told her boyfriend if he didn't come up with something good enough, she was breaking up with him. She was turning 21. We don't speak anymore. Story 5. Guy. In my middle school used to have friends that would tell him to do a Superman down a steep bank at the school. He'd run and dive and fly for a few seconds like Superman before face-planting on the steep bank and crashing down the hill. He'd always get back up all banged up and look at his friends, but they'd run away. Story 6. A while ago, someone I know made a big show on Facebook that they were pregnant with a new boyfriend that they had only just met. The announcement was a photo of the pregnancy test, and she must have been like only a couple of weeks or whatever. This was after she had status up saying that they were trying, and everyone was commenting saying, you just met the guy, isn't it too fast? A week later after announcing she was pregnant. It turned out she wasn't pregnant. Phantom pregnancy, incorrect results on test, or very early miscarriage. So she put this status up saying that she was devastated and that she'll never forget Rose and that she loved Rose and that she can't be replaced. No one commented, liked, reacted, or anything. Every day for about 2 weeks she kept resharing her status looking for sympathy and no one gave a. Scary that such immature behavior can come out of a 25-year-old. Story 7. Messaging you to like their new photo on Facebook. Also, people who don't know when to just say thank you and shut up after they've been complimented. Overdo your denial of it, and it just seems like you're fishing for compliments. Story 8. I knew a girl who pretended to have amnesia due to mental and emotional trauma from her boyfriend dumping her, and started a Facebook group for all of her friends to get together and tell nice stories about her to try to jog her memory. Story 9. People who accidentally post a carefully arranged and posed selfie. Oh my god, my dog accidentally took this photo of me. Oops. I accidentally uploaded this to my Instagram. Such a klutz. Story 10. When I was a freshman in high school, 12 plus years ago, there was a junior who was constantly in fights, wore shirts with skulls, and just generally tried to make himself seem like a... He outdid himself one morning when he came to school covered in the blood of a homeless man he stomped to death. Happy ending though, they tried and convicted him as an adult. Edit. To everyone saying he's a legit, he didn't do it alone. It was him and his 20-year-old friend, and the homeless man was A, in his late 40s, and B passed out, drunk when they attacked him. Story 11. This girl in high school went around with a piece of paper that represented her self-esteem. Every time someone was mean to her, she would tear off a piece. She said it would take 10 nice things for a piece to be taped back on. You can guess how this went. Story 12. Good friend's dad died. As the family was putting his ashes out at sea, the mom had somebody else take pictures of her and her grieving kids, and then she posted them on Facebook. The kids were pissed, for good reason. Don't exploit your crying children for Facebook likes. Story 13. I have a friend that has been engaged, with ring and included, with every boyfriend that she has ever had. Every year she gets a new boyfriend and every year she makes a big show and announcement of her engagement on Facebook, followed by dozens of pictures of her with the new guy calling him hubby and talking about the married life and how she feels like she was already married to him. A few months will go by and then we lose track of the guy and her on Facebook. And then out of the blue another one appears and is the same cycle all over again. I swear to God this woman looks like she just likes to collect engagement rings, and it's pulling one of a prank on all these idiots. No lie, I've seen already 5 engagements, never a single actual marriage date, and always feel sad for every boyfriend that comes along. She also completely adopts the personality of the guy she's currently with. If the guy is a surfer, she will become a bleached blonde surfer. If he's a DJ, she will also start DJing and talk non-stop about music. If the guy happens to be Russian, she will start posting in Russian. The current one is a tattoo artist, and she's now a pin-up type of girl. Story 14. Dude who told everyone that he's gonna work out just to carry his girlfriend. Did push-ups in the office for everyone to see. His girlfriend is pretty small. Story 15. A FB acquaintance recently posted a picture of herself doing something nerdy and added, "Yes, this is why I'm single" to it. No, being a geek nerd girl isn't why you're single. Being a LOL, I'm so into geeky stuff but I'm a girl. So that's so weird. I'm right, how quirky of me. Nerd girls are shall geek girls girl is why you're single. Story 16. I used to receive $20 each week for school lunches. We'd run up this rather long path to the strip mall, Subway, 7-Eleven grocery store, etc., and have lunch each Wednesday, Friday. Being a rather skinny kid who couldn't possibly consume $20 worth of food, would use more than half of it to treat my friends. I like the instant praise I received when I would buy them a Slurpee or snack. However, I didn't really hang out with anybody after school or get invited to big parties. I was just a rich kid in a pool of leeches. Kids would approach me and ask me to spot them $2, which I happily did, only to 180 and ignore me shortly after. I knew that we weren't all truly friends, but I did because for that 30-minute session each week I felt accepted. Now I'm in my 20s, realizing I lost a few $100s in middle school because I wanted to belong. Edit. Highest post is me shitting on my 13-year-old self. Thanks, Reddit. Also, thanks for all the comments to read through this morning. I understand it could have been worse, dealing and all, so I'm glad it was only a few $100s. Just looking back on those days makes me cringe every time, so I thought I'd share. Story 17. 2 of my dearest friends just had their first baby. These 2 people are the most wonderful people I've ever met. Everyone they love always comes first, and they do everything and anything they can to help should you need it. She was in labor for almost 40 hours, had a bunch of complications, and we were honestly worried for her safety. When her sister arrived at the hospital, 30+ hours into labor, she walked toward the birthing room, collapsed in the doorway, and had herself a pretty little panic attack on the floor in full fetal position, for no goddamn reason. So my dear friend had to force herself to be strong for her ailing sister while she was still in active labor. This was in November, and I still want to punch that woman's face. Edit. For those of you stuck, it wasn't a true panic attack. She has a long history of faking them in situations like this because everything should always be about her. While I want to assume she was flipping out over the worry for her sister's health in the situation, crying on the floor like a child is not the way an adult should be handling it. She was successful in her plight for the attention, and it's disgusting. Story 18. At a Target store in the US, we had a visit from a regional manager to one of our stores. A cashier went out of his way to walk alongside the store manager during the tour, with the regional managers almost unnoticed. When they all realized he was walking with them, he blurted out this long-winded story how, "I just wanted to come by and let you know that a relative was shopping at Walmart, not me personally, because I would never shop Walmart. She came by my house in tears and tears at how disgusting the shelves were over there, and she promised me she'd never return and will only shop at Target from now on." How's that for a bullseye, eh guys? You could see the stars in this kid's eyes, like he thought his story would lead to some Cinderella moment where the managers would point out his moxie and fast-track him to be CEO or something. Instead, they all slowly cringed back and walked away from the store manager and the cashier. Story 19. I've seen some up-hazing rituals that people go through to get into some social groups. Some people are willing to do some horrendously weird to be accepted by the group, man. That why would you want to hang with people who won't talk to you unless you want a toddler whilst you've got a celery stick up your... Story 20. This may make some of you mad, but I'm about to speak my mind on this subject. Person then proceeds to give opinion that 90% of their Facebook friends agree with. I live in NC, and right now, the HB2 thing is really getting talked about a lot. As someone who is vehemently against it, I see people on both sides declare how brave they're going to be before praising blasting the bill. And it's always just a slew of people agreeing with them. Story 21. One of my roommates is the absolute worst when it comes to this. She'll come up to me and start yelling in my face about how she wants my attention or some of whatever I'm eating. Unfortunately for me, she's really close with my girlfriend, so I put up with picking up her and taking her on walks. Story 22. There's a girl who is a FB friend, just a friend request I accepted to not seem mean. She periodically sends me messages saying she is in love with me, always after a very public breakup with the flavor of the week. If I don't reply quickly enough, she sends nudes. No provocation, nothing. Just sends that. She is exactly what people are referring to when they say, "Don't put urine crazy." I have not and shall not. Story 23. Went to a friend's wedding and got sat to this really annoying chick who wouldn't shut the up about studying optometry. Every time someone brought up a neutral topic, she'd always twist it around and loudly remind the group that she was studying optometry. So what TV shows are you guys keeping up with? I don't really watch any TV since I'm caught up in my optometry coursework. Giggles. Any, travel plans for this summer? No, it's so tough to make that kind of time since I'm really close to graduating from the optometry program. We all just started to pretend that she didn't exist. I guess she really had nothing else going on in life. She just kept drawing attention to that, which made it so much worse. Story 24. All right, this is pretty bad. I have a friend who is pretending to go to college. He is from the Bronx but lives in my friend's apartment. Even worse, he was kicked out by the landlady but is staying since my friends kind of felt bad about what he would do and where he would go. He constantly sleeps in and says, "Class is canceled." But we recently logging into his school account on his laptop and he is officially not a registered student. He constantly says he acing all of his classes. He even leaves the house to go to his internship for school, even though you have to be a registered student for that very program. He actually works nights, posted on Snapchat stories, and always says how hard it is balancing everything, on top of going for a master's degree. It's pretty insane. So he is basically lying to his friends and family about going to school, and wasting money on rent and traveling to and from Manhattan, all to promote a farce. Story 25. A girl in my class talks to all the teachers like she is equal to them and intellectually more advanced than everyone. She thinks she's good friends with them, but most I've talked to find her annoying. Story 26. High school. I remember this one kid who was just dying to be part of the popular crowd. He would do absolutely anything these guys asked. They made him do some really crappy stuff that reflected really poorly on them more than him, but no one else could see it. Made me just feel sorry for the kid. But the cringeworthy stuff I'd see from him was when they'd be talking, and he'd just sidle up to us and just laugh at whatever anyone said. Laughed first and loudest, and just looked around at everyone's faces as if trying to in the happiness from everyone else. Story 27. I knew a girl in middle school who lost a lot of weight after being put on ADHD medication. She used to swan around and complain loudly about how she was never hungry anymore, and she just couldn't stop losing weight. She kind of stopped doing it after some guy told her, "Really? Don't worry, it's not noticeable." Story 28. My sister's sister-in-law, or my brother-in-law's sister, constantly posted on Facebook about all the weight she needed to lose. She was always posting only 6 more pounds. And that was just a few months after she had a baby. She was 116 elbs and like 5'4" or 5'5". She's actually a really beautiful girl who doesn't need to lose a single pound. She ended up deleting me when she and my other unmarried sister got into it on Facebook, and I stood up for my sister. I still have the screenshot saved. Story 29. Our student teacher in high school tried way too hard to be our buddy. The worst is when we were supposed to be learning about the samurai of Japan. The back of the class started beatboxing and tapping out the rhythm to "Go, ninja! Go, ninja! Go!" He just smiled at first, but we eventually cajoled him into doing the rap and dancing for us. Then our real teacher came in, told the student teacher to take a seat in the hall, and taught the rest of the lesson himself. We never saw nor spoke of our student teacher again. Story 30. My cousin has a 7-year-old, and it would be an understatement to say that this kid is not the best and the brightest. Same goes for my cousin. You know the type, she's always putting up a front trying to sound intelligent, posting pseudoscientific articles on Facebook and loudly bragging about what a huge atheist she is and what a big nerd she is and how much she reads, etc. Recently, she has started taking her kid into bookstores and posing him with different books, like textbooks, way beyond the reading level of a 7-year-old, then taking a picture to post to Facebook with a caption like, "Anthony picked this advanced quantum theory book up all by himself and won't let me take it away from him. My boy is so smart." It's too bad because in reality he has a serious eye problem that makes it so he can't read and probably needs to be in special ed for some learning disabilities. She's doing him no favors but would rather put on a social media show than be a parent. Story 31. Had a guy come out on Facebook. It was Transgender Awareness Day, month, and he decided that was the appropriate time to come out. You see, he was biologically born a man, but he had so many strong woman figures in his life that he always admired and looked up to, so he thought women were really great, and so he's transgendered. And he understands that can be really confusing, but he wants you to know that for pronouns he prefers he and him, because he's transgendered. My jaw was on the floor. And because he's a flirt and super attractive, girls everywhere were swooning over how brave he was. In case you are unclear, born a man, always was a man, continues to be a man, only identifies as a man, is a man, but is apparently transgendered. Story 32. Facebook posts to dead people. Oh, Grandma, it's been 10 years since you died and I still miss you every day. Who is that for exactly? I understand updating people if somebody dies, but to keep calling back to it and actually talking to the dead person just strikes me as weird and attention-seeking. Story 33. I personally know someone who recently made the front page of Reddit by posting before and after pictures of weight loss. He stated that he did it by exercising and cutting out soda. I've known him for years, and he actually had weight loss surgery paid for by the government. He made little to no changes in his diet lifestyle. Story 34. This kid I knew in middle and high school would leave drawings or stories he was working on out on his desk, accidentally, so that people walking by would compliment them. They were pretty much, if no one noticed them, he would accidentally drop them off the desk towards someone else, so that when the other person picked it up, they'd comment on it. At one point, he had a big sketchbook that he would just leave open on desks in the middle of class so that everyone could see his poorly drawn anime characters. This kid was me. Also, I'm pretty sure telling this story counts as cringeworthy approval-seeking behavior. Story 35. My friend's older brother back in the day always tried to be cool by doing the craziest stuff if dared to. So one day he dares himself to his pants in front of myself and two girlfriends, turning a deaf ear to our you are gross remarks. He shits himself, shakes the down his pant leg, and the falls out onto his sneaker. We ran away at the sight of the turd immediately, while he stood there in the woods covered in his own and poor decision. Story 36. When my son was little, we used to occasionally pay the kid next door to babysit him. My son loved it when Sean would come over because Sean played with him. Unlike some other babysitters, they built Lego stuff together, played video games together, etc. When my son learned that we were paying Sean, he decided to save up his allowance so he could hire Sean to play with him, even if his mom and I weren't planning to go out. We told him, "You can't do that. You can't just pay somebody to play with you." He asked, "Why not?" I couldn't think of a good answer. So I think we just started making plans to go out more often. Story 37. Went out to my friend's stag do bachelor party for the Colonials. This, who was his gym friend, came along, was a bit up himself but didn't come across as the I now know him to be until we came to the meal. We were going to Steak & Co. in London. Perfectly nice place, perhaps a little pricey. The guy stopped outside and said, "We're going in there?" We said, yeah. Why? He said, "Oh, I don't rate Steak & Co." He then walked off and completely left. What an absolute. Even if he doesn't particularly like it, this is his friend's stag do. You put up with it for your friend. Also, he was loaded, so nothing to do with money. Absolute. And he didn't show at the wedding. Probably for the best. Story 38. My ex. She was lactose intolerant, which made it difficult to find food she could eat in restaurants, etc. However, even after we'd quiz the waiter and get them to check with the chef that there's no dairy on whatever she was ordering, she would always risk it by having some of my meal, which would include dairy in some form or another. This would inevitably lead to her feeling sick within 30 minutes, and I would then spend the rest of the evening looking after her. This ruined dozens of days and nights out, but she seemed to prefer being looked after to actually going out with me. Story 39. Oh God, it was me. When I was in high school, I wasn't very popular, but I wasn't bullied or anything. It was just a big school, so I kind of went unnoticed. Well, this class clown type of guy in my Spanish class used to bug me a lot to get a laugh or two. None of it was particularly mean, so I didn't care. I think I just liked the attention, and he was pretty funny. Well, one of the things he would say was that I would look good with blue hair. You would look really cool, etc., etc. He was really only joking, but in my mind, I thought, maybe he's teasing me because he likes me. So I dyed my hair blue like an idiot. I mean, we weren't friends. It's not like this was some kid I talked to or hung out with. When I went to class the next day, it was so awkward and everyone knew I did it because of him. On top of that, the dye faded into a nasty green color fairly quickly. I still cringe thinking about it. Story 40. Lying about social financial status and one-upping everything everyone says. Always having to be better, walk smarter, wash richer than everyone else. Just ended a long-term acquaintance-type friendship over this. I just could not take it anymore, especially when different versions of the story were getting told to different people, even though this person had to know we all talk to each other. Story 41. A girl I went to HS with broke her leg in a car accident, but over-exaggerated her injuries. She created a Facebook group for herself called One Day or I Will Walk Again and invited everyone in the school. Never mind the fact we had students in motorized wheelchairs who went to school with us who were actually in therapy to hopefully walk again one day. It was ridiculous. She had 2 surgeries before her leg was officially mended. Then she was like, "I'm good, guys. It's a miracle." That same girl also attempted to join the football team and actually protested her inability to join by sitting on the football field for 30 minutes each morning before classes started. And nobody cared, so she eventually gave up. Story 42. I had a friend who once ate $1 for $1. Same friend, who is lactose intolerant, was dared to make an omelet in his stomach, regurgitate and pan-fry eggs, milk, ham, peppers, onion. Re-eat cooked omelet. Did it for $10. Story 43. Okay, 2 things that are cringy as. First, an aunt on my dad's side seeks the congratulations of everyone for her daughter, who is the same age of 2 other cousins and myself. The 4 of us have always gotten along, but starting at the beginning of high school, this aunt just started being It starts with her complaining about how she and her husband can't afford to send their daughter to the Catholic prep school in their town because of all the money they donate and all the money they spend on their 6 other kids' academic hobbies. This obligates my grandmother to pay the $20,000 a year tuition so this girl can go to Catholic school. All is going well for the next 4 years. But at every reunion and holiday, we hear this woman brag about how her daughter is on the right path for going to an Ivy League and how she's going to be this fantastic lawyer, and includes her giving parenting advice to my dad and the 2 other cousins' parents about how to fix us so we at least have a shot at being successful. Then, graduation comes, and during the spring of my senior year, the entire family gets an email from this aunt saying that because her daughter got into U Chicago, she won't be giving any of the other graduating girls gifts. Their tuition is too expensive, but God forbid I give my nieces a gift when I know full well my mother is going to put my daughter through college. Although she encourages that gifts for her daughter to be sent to their home. It actually came out later that she insisted our grandma to not give anyone gifts as well, so that she could save money to pay for the daughter. Fast forward another 3 years, her daughter is a women's studies major at U Chicago. I can't believe she picked the most useless major at one of the most expensive undergrad schools. Let's just say my aunt isn't so braggy about that girl now, considering myself and another cousin, one of the girls who is my age, are about to take the MCAT for med school. Second, I have this friend on Facebook who honestly thinks she is going to be this hotshot surgeon in a matter of a few years. We went to high school together and people always assumed she wouldn't make it very far. Apparently she hated that, so now she posts about 15 times a day, updating everyone on how much better she is than them, because she is in school and pays her own bills and has a car and lives on her own. I can't help but think she has forgotten that everyone she graduated with is likely in the same boat as her. First, she is unbelievably obsessed with the idea of saving money. Money is everything. All y'all don't have your priorities straight if you don't have commas in your bank account, etc. This is ironic because she currently works at a jeweler's. Just started there last week. And prior to that, she was a CNA. She claims she drives an Audi, although blatantly refuses to post pictures of it when asked to. The only info she will give is that it is in a discontinued color and is cool as. She also claims that she is going to move out of the country soon. This is all fine and dandy, but it seems to me and other people I have talked to that she can't always afford her rent or mortgage or whatever, so she often stays at her parents' place. In addition, she makes the "I'm moving, this city sucks" claim every month or so, always changing the location of her upcoming move. She also claims that she is going to go to medical school and be a baby doctor and save all y'all's life one day, when she finishes the degree she is working towards now. This is also fine, except she is currently working towards a diagnostic medical sonography degree at our local tech college. She won't qualify for medical school until she at least gets a bachelor's from an approved 4-year school. Oh, and lastly, she has been in remission from leukemia since 6th grade. She is no longer under chemotherapy and is relatively healthy. However, every second status she posts has some point to make about how no one here understands her cancer struggle. Every day she feels like it might be her last. You've been in remission for 10 years. Calm the down. Not to mention, every selfie she posts, about 4 a day, she uses a shitty makeup app to give herself gray eyes and long eyelashes. She says God blessed her with her beautiful wolf eyes and long lashes. Sure, whatever makes you sleep at night, honey. TLDR. My aunt is a braggy about my cousin, and a 21-year-old Facebook friend thinks she is a 50-year-old billionaire. Story 44. Faking anorexia for sympathy. I have several friends who went through anorexia or other eating disorders, and it still angers me so much how this girl acted. She was incredibly rude about it, unlike any of the other people I knew who have went through it. She posted things on Facebook like, "My BMI is only 13 but no one seems to notice," despite her not all looking 25 kilo underweight. Or things about her diet to counter anorexia, which no doctor would ever recommend, like eating 3 times the recommended calories to make up for the weight loss. which she had to do, or else her organs would fail. She also had a non-anorexic twin sister that not only seemed to ignore her rants but was the same size as her as well. Story 45. A Facebook friend with 4 kids always post hers. Kids. ER visits with long-winded posts like, "When my kids get sick, they come first. Sorry, my classes and career can wait." But she takes them to the ER for everything. Cough, fevers, ear infections, vomiting. She's there at least 5x's a year, and she loves the pity likes and the "you go strong mama" comments. Story 46. My sister has always needed to be the center of attention, but one time she took it way too far. She was an English major in college and took a trip to London with some of her friends when she was in grad school. Well, on the flights back home to the States, she wore an old Victorian-style dress. Just imagine the looks she got from everyone else on the planes she was on, or at the airport she had to stay in waiting for her next flight. When I saw her at the airport to pick her up, I was disappointed in myself that I couldn't come up with a way to pretend I didn't know who she was. Story 47. An acquaintance of mine plagiarizes ARR shower thoughts on almost a daily basis and basks in the glorious likes and comments of all his non-Redditor friends. The worst part? He's a writer for The Economist. Story 48. I knew this immature guy that acted like the class clown the first time we met. We were freshmen in college, so it was bizarre. He would also dumb himself down and pretend not to know things so people would explain it to him. Later on, he matured. His constantly searching for other people's approval didn't change, though. He would invite people to lunch and foot the bill. He'd bake tons of cookies just to give them away. It sounds mean, but he was a bit pathetic. He just wanted people's approval to have a friend. The worst part has got to be how he changes his opinion depending on who he talks to. I'd hear him say one thing when he's with this person's and another thing when he's with another person. If he takes a liking to a person, he'd move heaven and earth just to impress. His interests, style, and even speech would change overnight. I still think he's a nice guy and chat with him from time to time. Story 49. My very adult sister cries and screams like a 4-year-old throwing a fit whenever someone else is the center of attention. This has happened at weddings, funerals, graduations, and many family gatherings. Needless to say, she's not often invited. Worst time has been when others are seriously ill, and she makes it about how she has to suffer with putting up with sharing a space with said person or just knowing about it since it worries her. I'm so glad we don't live together anymore. Story 50. This chick on my FB posted a selfie of her and her husband in their vehicle with the caption "coming home from marriage counseling," followed by a multi-paragraph explanation of why communication is so important and how amazing her marriage is, blah blah blah. Of course, there were multiple comments congratulating her on being so real. Is nothing sacred anymore? What has happened to people that they feel the need to share incredibly intimate details of their life with the world? Story 51. I had to block my cousin's daughter from Facebook because the things she was posting were so over-the-top ridiculous I'd wince reading it. The worst one was when she posted that her boss asked her out to lunch, and she thought he was going to hit on her. Yes, she posted on Facebook she thought her boss was hitting on her. Then she went on to post that he promoted her to manager and was going to give her control of an entire new office. I'm not even sure she graduated high school, so it was cringy and ridiculous to say the least. Story 52. A girl who I, admittedly, strung along for a bit too long after I got out of a very serious relationship fabricated a story that she'd been diagnosed with terminal ovarian cancer and that it was now or never with her. Little inconsistencies in her stories, I'm studying medicine, alerted me almost immediately, but I didn't call her out, just in case I was overanalyzing, in which case I would have looked like Austin Powers when he mistakenly outs Basil's mother as a man. When I started talking to her more, I'd moved a few hours away from my studies. She was miraculously declared cancer-free within days. Remember, it was terminal. I should have stopped talking to her then, but I decided to, once again, give her the benefit of the doubt. Every time I would go some amount of time without acknowledging her, the cancer would return, and she'd be once again near death. It was really quite pathetic, and I had no idea how to deal with it. I decided to keep her friends, some of whom were my friends, out of it until I let it slip at mutual friend's wedding, whereupon her closest friend overheard and looked absolutely appalled by the scope of the lie. She confirmed that the girl did not, in fact, ever have cancer. She unfriended me on Facebook shortly thereafter and sent me some rather nonsensical message about how it just wasn't going to work between us and she needed to move on. Since then, I have stumbled upon numerous other significant fabrications, not exaggerations, she'd told me throughout the time I'd known her. The whole thing was very bizarre and taught me to trust my intuition when it comes to a person's intentions or integrity. Story 53. I knew a girl in high school who would loudly threaten to kill or hurt herself if things didn't go her way, if people disagreed with her, or if she was proven wrong about something. I remember after the second X-Men movie came out, she said that it was really cool to have a female version of Banshee in the film. I told her that that was probably Siren, Banshee's daughter. She got huffy and went on a tangent about how no such character existed. The next day, when I brought in a comic book to show her, she threw a tantrum, accused me of trying to make her look stupid, and loudly declared that she was going to slash her wrists. She didn't. Story 54. I'm friends with one of my sister's former college classmates on Facebook. This girl went to law school at a decent school, but has thus far failed the bar exam 3 or 4 times, but still has managed to score what seems like a sweet job, probably due to her connections. Comes from a very rich family. Anyway, I swear to God, every Facebook post is her humble bragging in some really annoying way. Saturday, up at 5 a.m., morning Payo class, kickboxing, and 20-mile run in the forest. Posted with a pic of her doing yoga. It's great to be productive. Or, my Uber driver spent 30 minutes asking me if I was single today, and I was so dense that I didn't realize he was hitting on me until after I got out of the cab. This is why I'm single, or upgraded to first class. And who is sitting next to me but famous actor's name? I'm going to ask him out and we'll report back. It is seriously like this every single Facebook post.